Hello everyone and welcome to Golden Nova's First Reacts, where I react first to all the things you want to see reacted to first, as long as I'm the first person you come to react to things first. Which has been a little difficult these past few days, because we've had some reveals. We've had Mikanko, we've had Gouki, but my computer's been out of commission these past few days. But thankfully I am back, and it is time to do some reactions, thankfully to something entirely new. Don't worry, we'll also go over the Goukis tonight because I had the wherewithal to stay away from reading them. I didn't do the same thing for the Mikankos, but trust me, we're going to get to those because I've got a bone to pick with those cards. But for now, let's start with the new stuff. It's titled as What If Mystical Space Typhoon Could Negate? Possibly one of the funniest old jokes of the community. It's right up there with Pot of Greed for how fresh and interesting it is to bring up in conversation. I'm so curious to see what this could possibly mean. Let's go ahead and give it a look-see, starting with Magnifistorming Megala. Are these the Magnifistorm? The Magnifistormings. That's an incredible name. I hope they change it. And they name drop Mystical Space Typhoon. Okay. Magnifistorming Megala is a level 3 Wind Fairy monster, 500 attack, 1500 defense. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. If you have Mystical Space Typhoon in your graveyard, or your opponent controls no spell or trap cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a Magnifistorm Quick Play spell card or Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can special summon a Magnifistorm monster from your deck with a different name from the monsters you control. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except wind monsters. Oh my god, an honest-to-goodness wind archetype. You have to be kidding me. Okay, so free special summon if you've met the Mystical Space Typhoon requirements or no opposing back row. And then you also get a benefit for playing an on-theme quick play spell card. That's pretty nifty. Hopefully the Magnifistorms do more than just remove back row so that they're not stopping on Mystical Space Typhoons. Whole deal. Are they also all fairies? No, it looks like we have a multi-attribute deck here because Magnifistorming Erdam is a level 3 Wind Beast monster, 1300 attack, 800 defense. You can only special summon monsters with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If you have Mystical Space Typhoon in your grave or your opponent controls no spell or trap cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. This might be a recurring motif. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Magnifistorm monster or Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck to your hand, except a copy of this card. Okay, so it's our Stratos, or it gets us Mystical Space Typhoon. That's so funny that that's now the old Yu-Gi-Oh card that is being focused on. Yu-Gi-Oh has been in this phase for quite some time, even before we were in the Sevens era, where we have been focusing in on older cards to make archetypes around. I think Thunder Dragon is probably one of the more famous examples of this, and now we have settled on probably the prototypical piece of back row removal. This is so funny. Like, 'cause it makes sense they're wind. It's Mystical Space Typhoon. Anyway. Magnifistorming Swen is a level 3 Wind Beast Warrior, so we've got some tanky target here. 1600 attack, 400 defense. You can only special summon cards with the first name effect per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. Mystical Space Typhoon in your graveyard, or your opponent has no back, or you can special summon it. We've seen this before. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Magnifistorm spell or trap card or Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck to your hand. So, like how our previous one searched monsters, this one searches our spells and traps, but they both search Mystical Space Typhoon, which is super important because we need it in graveyard so that we can get our special summons. Magnifistorming Crothia is a level 6 Winged Beast monster. Folks, we have the tri-type here. Beast Warrior, Winged Beast. 2200 attack, 1200 defense. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. First effect, if a quick play spell card is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Magnifistorm card and Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck and or grave to your hand, except a copy of this card. But you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except wind monsters, and it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while your opponent controls no spell or trap cards. Okay, so this is a huge searcher for the deck. Triggers off of any quick play spell cards, so we are incentivized to play most anything from that section, though, of course, Mystical Space Typhoon is probably going to be the best one. Get a double search on here. The Windlock's going to be rough, but maybe it'll synergize with other wind-based decks. I mean, Harpy's Feather Duster, or Harpy Ladies, are already going to use Harpy's Feather Duster to, blast back row, so that might meet the requirements. Although I guess most decks would want to play Harpy's Feather Duster sometimes, because it's just generally good. I'm reaching right now. These are just first impressions. We all know how this works. Gotta go with the flow of consciousness here. Magnifistorm Vortex Beauty Valrune. Okay, there we go. They're kind of cute. Level 9 Wind Aqua Monster. 0 attack, 3000 defense. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Like with our previous one, if a quick play spell card is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. 2, when your opponent activates a monster effect and you have Mystical Space Typhoon in your graveyard as a quick effect, you can negate that effect. Then if you have 2 or more Mystical Space Typhoon in your graveyard, you can destroy that monster. So you want to be playing multiple copies so you can trigger the removal. That's so funny. The negate is pretty good though. It doesn't care where the effect is activated. And if you meet the requirements, it also destroys it. So sometimes it doesn't matter. If it's a hand trap, then it was going to go to the graveyard anyway. But if it's a creature on board, you get to pop it here. And then lastly, if a Mystical Space Typhoon is activated while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon it. Oh, okay. So you can bring it up from your hand using any of them, but if it's in your graveyard, you get to summon it free. That's goofy. That's kind of goofy. Okay. Magnifistorm Great Pyre Phoenix. Level 9 Wind Pyro. 3000 attack, 0 defense. You only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If a quick play spell card is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. Last effect of Mystical Space Typhoon is activated while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon it, so we've got the same for both those as well. If a quick play spell card is activated, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls and shuffle them into the deck. Wow. That's nifty. Now, this one is not a quick effect. It's not like with Beauty Valrune where you have to chain it to the monster effect. These are if trigger effects, so we have to wait for a new chain. But still pretty solid. Especially because, like, these don't care. Maybe there's some other cards that it does matter for, but a lot of these cards just say if a quick play spell card is activated or if Mystical Space Typhoon is activated. It doesn't care who, so the mirror match is about to be horrendous. Okay, our actual spell and trap cards. Magnifistorming Stanza Tribute. Quick play spell card. Activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect once per turn. So if we draw multiple, we can use multiple. You can either add a level 4 or lower Magnifistorm monster from your deck to your hand, or add a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If this card is destroyed by the effective Mystical Space Typhoon, you can set this card. Okay, that was something that I was looking to see if they would do, because Mystical Space Typhoon is difficult to get into the graveyard early on because your opponent's not going to have any spell or trap cards to aim it at. So what you have to do beforehand is find a way to pitch the card, or you would have to destroy your own cards with it, which is murder on your card economy. So what do? Well, we make it so if this gets popped by Mystical Space Typhoon, it just comes back. And this is not once per turn. In fact, none of these are technically hard ones per turns. It's just that these ones are delineated, so you can only activate one of these per turn. But if you need a target for your Mystical Space Typhoons, you can just set this and keep popping it over and over again with your Mystical Space Typhoons. That's so funny. So it gives it a target to resolve to put it in the graveyard. Incredible. But aside from that, it is also a searcher for all of our level 3 or lower Magnifistorms. I don't know why it says 4. Maybe we'll get a level 4 later. In fact, I would argue that this means that we will get a level 4 later. But it doesn't let us get our big, or I wouldn't know if I'd call them boss monsters, but our more impactful ones. But we do have one that searches monsters that can search them. So we'll daisy chain our way to the cards we want eventually. So this is a fantastic card. Next is Magnifistorming Summoning Technique. Same formatting as the last card. We have a modal first effect that we can use. We can use one of them per turn. So if we draw multiple summoning techniques, we can use multiple of these effects, and its last effect can reset it to the field if it's destroyed by Mystical Space Typhoon. The 2 effects that it has are send a Magnifistorm monster from your deck to the graveyard, or add a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So the second effect is the same. This first one is basically the inverse of this one, right? So we have our level 9s that can revive themselves from the graveyard if Mystical Space Typhoon is activated. So we'll be using this to load them into the graveyard and then play MST to get them back. Wow. Magnifistorming Sight Trance. Activate one of these effects. Okay, same templating. The second mode on here is add a Mystical Space Typhoon from deck or grave to hand, and if it's destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, notably, something that I did not bring up here, or that I did not bring up beforehand, that is crucial, is the fact that it does not say if this set card is destroyed by Mystical Space Typhoon. So while you can set it and then MST it to get it back, instead, you can activate Stanza Tribute, or any of these ones really, activate their effect, and then chain Mystical Space Typhoon to it, popping it while it's on the field and resolving. This will then reset it so you get double usages out of it. Unreal. Unreal. Okay, so Sight Trance's first modal effect has you drawing 2 cards, then discarding a Magnifistorm card or a quick play spell card, or if you do not have any, discard your entire hand. Oh, that could potentially be Goofy. Any of those things where it's like, oh, pitch your entire hand. There's a chance. There's a chance someone does something goofy with it. Not that it's not already goofy. Okay, last one. Magnifistorming Sovereign Tyranny. Continuous trap card. Once per turn, you can target 3 quick play spells in your graveyard, including a Magnifistorm card, and apply these effects in sequence. Shuffle them into the deck, then draw a card. Then when monsters you control will gain 300 attack and defense for the rest of this turn. Second effect, once per chain, when Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects. If this card is destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon, you can set this card. We did it. We did it. We found it. At the end of this long road, MST, with a little help, can negate. Did they know? Did they know what they were doing when they did this? I have to imagine that's the case. I can't, for the life of me, I cannot imagine that this was just plucked fully formed from someone's head without ever having encountered that joke. Are you... It's unreal. So it's once per chain, and it's a when. So it can miss timing. And it doesn't say quick effect here because it's a trap card, so it's inherently quick. It can inherently activate at that time. Wow. That's so funny. Okay, so looking at these in general, I think these cards are based, and I don't want to get my hopes up too high, because at the end of the day, what these are largely doing are cycling you through a bunch of cards, grabbing each other. Mystical Space Typhoon is involved in one way or another, and you have a negate body in the form of Beauty Valrune, and you have removal in the form of Great Pyre Phoenix. Stanza Tribute does, or not Stanza Tribute, the quick play spells in our theme not only will generate advantage from our monsters because they trigger off of these activating, they also get us Mystical Space Typhoons to get the better, or to get the revival effects off of our level 9s. But the big bonuses that they provide while they're on the field only really care about activating quick play spell cards. So you could add any number of cards that are really, some of the game's best cards have been quick play spell cards, so you can add them in here and go to town. I think it's going to be a matter of having a really small core of cards, though. I feel like that's what's really going to really sell this, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think I want any of these like main deck monsters. All these level 3 monsters just seem so superfluous. I might get the one that, you might want to play the one that searches you the spell and trap cards, so you can like get the other cards into the graveyard and maybe utilize Mystical Space Typhoon more, but I think this is going to find its way into another engine. I don't think pure Magnifistorm is going to be the wave of the future, but these cards are there's something so incredible about them, and bringing Mystical Space Typhoon into the modern era like this, ugh, fantastic stuff. Okay, so I'm looking forward to these. These are going to be nutty. Okay, next up, Gouki. Like I said, I didn't see any of the Gouki stuff. I restrained myself. I was good. So we're going to look at these together for the first time. Let's see what Gore has in store. And I'm so glad I finally have an excuse to talk about Gouki. I've been waiting to do that forever, so now is the time. Let's start with Gouki Mashin Suprex. We have a Suprex Retrain. Level 4 Earth Tuner monster. 1800 attack, 0 defense. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can reveal this card and one other Gouki monster in your hand to special summon both, but you cannot special summon while you control either of those monsters except Gouki monsters. Fine by me. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Gouki card from your deck to your hand except Mashin Suprex. Thank God. So one of the things about later Gouki cards is that they started dropping the effect where if they were sent from field to grave, you would search a Gouki card, which was such a huge draw for them at the beginning. They were like looping material over and over again. Glad to see we're bringing that back. Sorry, eyes feel a little scratchy tonight. Okay, Gouki the Tyrant Ogre. I feel like we have a Tyrant Ogre. And it's weird to me that we have a fusion monster. Is this wearing, like... I think this is wearing Dino Wrestler skulls? These look like they're Dino Wrestlers. Am I wrong on that? Maybe I'm looking too much into... Oh, you know what? Maybe these are all... Are they supposed to reference the... Oh, well, this one definitely references Dino Wrestler. That's just a Dino Wrestler right there. Huh. What am I thinking of? Chat, comments, viewers. What am I thinking of when I think Gouki the Tyrant Ogre? There's got to be one of those that already exists, right? Or am I just going... I'm just going wacky doodle here. Okay, level 8 Earth Warrior Fusion Monster, 3500 attack, 0 defense. Its materials are a Gouki Link monster plus a Warrior Dino or Cypress monster. That's really cool, actually. So I think that confirms that these skulls here are meant to be Dino Wrestlers. But you can just play it pure, because you can use any Warrior. You can play it with the Dino Wrestlers to get that, or with Cybers, because that was kind of the whole deal of the show at the time. Bunch of Cybers monsters. A lot of big pull for Vrains, as it turns out. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target cards on the field up to the total link ratings of the Gouki Link monsters used as material and destroy them. If you used a Link 3 or higher monster as material, those cards cannot be activated in response to this card's activation. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Oh, I like that. I think this is taken from the Dino Wrestler extra deck monsters too. If I remember correctly, that came up a lot with those. And we'll get to you in a second, buddy. So it's the total link ratings of the Gouki Link monsters used as material. So I think you're very much incentivized to only use Gouki Link monsters here, because you can get a lot of removal here. It's target cards on the field, and if you used any Link 3 or higher, no response. You can like go after back row and be all like you're not chaining these in response. You can go after monsters that are negation bodies and be all like you're not responding to this. That's crazy. Now, granted, this does open up the floodgate. Poor choice of wording to consider floodgate. This does open up the opportunity for one of my favorite pieces of not card tech, it's rules interactions things. So I'm going to take a brief aside here. This video is already going to be like 30. We're already at the 19-minute mark here. I'm going to be yapping until the cows come home. So I'm going to take a little bit to clarify so that everyone at home knows that because this says those cards cannot be activated in response to this effect's activation, this means that when you go to put Tyrant Ogre on the chain and you target those cards, yeah, those cards that were targeted there ain't responding. They ain't doing it. However, if your opponent has any other effect that they can activate, now those cards are free because they would not be responding to this effect's activation. Notably, this also means that you should make sure you do not add anything to the chain after this, if at all possible, because then, once again, your opponent's responding to that thing, not Tyrant Ogre. So keep that in mind. Don't be a goofball. We don't have a fusion effect yet, but we did see a spell card later on, so that might be what we're using. And notably, Warriors, Dinos, and Cybers means that you just became best friends with Super Polymerization in a number of different matchups. So have fun. Alright, next up is Gouki Dragon Ogre, level 6 Earth Warrior Synchro, 2200 attack, 0 defense, requiring generic material, but of course we have Mashup Suprax, so we need this and any level 2, because we got a 6. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can add a Gouki spell card from your deck to your hand. Incredible, the Gouki spell cards are universally fantastic. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target an Earth monster that you control. Add a Gouki monster with a lower attack from your graveyard to your hand. Also, while the targeted monster is face up on your field, your opponent's monsters can only target that monster for attacks, and that does not run out at any time. Okay. So we want to make this, get the search, and then get rid of this as soon as possible. No, it doesn't force attacks on that, notably, but it's the only one that they can attack, so it does keep your other monsters safe. And that's pretty good. Gouki Sheik Ogre. Link 2, 1900 attack, bottom left, bottom right. Requires 2 Gouki monsters as material. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If any number of Gouki monsters are added from the deck to the hand except by drawing them, you can special summon any number of Gouki monsters from your hand with different levels from each other, but you cannot special summon while you control any of those face-up monsters except Gouki monsters. We'll get to that in a second. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a Gouki fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. Well, dang, there it is. We found our fusion effect. So this first effect is pretty cool, right? So, like we mentioned earlier, a lot of the early Gouki monsters grabbed another Gouki card and sent from field to graveyard. So what happens with Sheik Ogre is that you would link 2, you would make the Sheik Ogre, and then your searches would go on the chain. You would get those both of them. You would get those both of them. Yeah, you would grab them both, and then Sheik Ogre would see that, trigger again, and then you could summon them. Now, because it says different levels, you want to be careful that you're grabbing, specific ones, but you kind of want to do that anyway so that you're going for different once per turn instances. So, fantastic stuff. Holy cow. I love that. Okay. Gouki Fighting Spirit. Last one, continuous spell card. You can only activate one card of this card's name per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. When this card resolves, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Earth monster that's either a warrior, dinosaur, or cybers from your hand in defense position, and you contribute a Link 3 or higher Gouki monster to special summon a Dino Wrestler or G-Golem monster from your deck or extra deck. Can't believe I didn't clock the fact that it was supposed to be talking about G-Golems, Nova, you goober. That's why the cyberses are involved here. Is there a G-Golem on here? Did I miss that? No, I did not, but, still, should have clocked that. Okay, I don't know about this one. So, it special summons from the hand, and nowhere else. And it tributes... Now, notably, it does summon from the extra deck. So you can take a Link 3 or higher Gouki and turn it into one of the admittedly fantastic Dino Wrestler monsters, or one of the G-Golems, and... I like the G-Golems, but if I remember correctly, you really need to be co-linking them to really make the most of their effects. Yeah, like if one of them is like co-linked, it forces attacks on it, and it's really huge. But I don't know. I think this is the weakest out of all of them. I don't know if I would play this one, though it is notably, it is searchable because it's a Gouki spell card. And we are searching a bunch of Goukis, so it does get them out of our hand if we otherwise wouldn't have an effect to do so. So actually, I think I'm going to shut up. I think this is a one of that you can grab to extend your plays. Never mind, this is actually pretty nifty. I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever made here, but it's good to see it. This is pretty nifty, so... Wow, these are cool. These are really nice. I like all of these. Mashin Suprex is another... wild card. We can use it to get more cards out of our hand. Tyrant Ogre is the bomb. Dragon Ogre is a really cool, like not even like a synchro climbing tool, but I would say like a link climbing tool. We have our fusion effect in Sheik Ogre, and that lives in our extra deck, so we don't have to go searching for another particular card. It just lives there. Heck, it's its own fusion material now that I think about it, because it's a Gouki Link monster. Granted, you would probably want to turn... Well, no, because you need to have Sheik Ogre around to do the fusion summoning, but you want to get a Link 3 so that you can make it unrespondable. So maybe you link what you summon off of Ogre, a Sheik Ogre, into that Link 3 Gouki. And then you get to pop 5 cards. So I think that might be what we're aiming to do here. Okay, Gouki cards are cool. Really quickly, I saw that we have our new prize card here, another verse Stratios. Once again, loving the another verse cards. I know there's a lot of opinions around here. I like them. I think they're cool. Okay, last one. We're gonna go in reverse order on this one because I can't. Okay, first off, Huli gets some new art. Very cute. New spell card, Mikanko Divine Dance. Not an equip spell, just a normal spell card. You cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, except Mikanko monsters. Also, send a Mikanko card from your deck to the graveyard, except a copy of this card. Then you can set a Mikanko spell or trap card from your deck, except a copy of this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard and detach one Xyz material from your monsters to special summon a Mikanko ritual monster from your hand or deck. This card seems beluga nasty. One of the best combos in the game is putting Huli into the graveyard with there's one of the newer Mikanko equip spells that like you can bring it and a Mikanko back and you equip it together, so it's like Huli plus the other one not only gives the equipped monster effect structure and protection, but like keeps your opponent from targeting all your Mikanko cards, which is unreal. And then you're also telling me that you get to summon any of the Mikanko rituals, which has some like pretty nifty effects. I don't think a lot of people really leaned into the ritual aspect of Mikankos because their effects weren't like super good, at least on the field. There were some like other effects that they had available to them that you could activate off field that were still pretty good, but we just didn't do it for the ritual part. Now you can actually summon them. It's very funny. It's like they've kind of removed ritual from the archetype at all, like entirely, and now it's just like a weird designation of boss monster, especially because they now appear to want to be an Xyz archetype. Rank 3 light fairy monster Uzuhime, the manifested Mikanko, 0 attack and defense, requires any 2 level 3 Mikanko monsters, which I think is all of them. Something in my brain is telling me there's a level 2, but I think that's just, I think what my brain is actually telling me is that they're all different types and attributes, and then I need to focus on the fact that I gotta forget the whole level thing. Okay. If this card is special summoned, you can add an equip spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This is dangerous. It's probably less dangerous because this requires specifically on theme monsters, so it's not super splashable, but anytime you can just grab whatever equip spell you want, especially when you can also grab it from your graveyard, is unreal. This is going to cause some problems. Second, cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card. This was previously reserved for the ritual monsters. You did not have to equip the rituals to get the reflection damage. They just came with that, whereas the main deck monsters or the regular Mikankos had to have an equip spell to do that. This just comes with Uzuhime, so it hits the board and it's an immediate combat threat. If this card attacks at the end of the damage step, you can detach one material from this card, make another attack in a row. The first effect is the one that can only be used once per turn. This is going to have 2 material on it, which means you can attack, detach a material, attack again in a row. Detach the second material, get a 3rd attack in a row. Because it does not say make a 2nd attack on here, you can make 3 attacks on this. So if your opponent has anything with like 20, I think it's, what is the threshold? It's like, yeah. If they have anything with 2,700 or more attack, then we lose. And there's like 3 kaijus that accomplish that. That's unreal. I cannot believe they're doing this, but you know, tactical tridecks. We saw that cool Dark Magician medallion one a while ago, plus all the new Dark Magician cards. That's going to be part of it. If the new hero cards in the tactical try are anywhere close to those support cards, we're going to have a fun time. Okay. This is what I had to say for the end, because I can't guarantee I'm going to end this video as a level-headed individual, okay? So we're just going to... We're going to push this together. Sanaki, the Mikanko Devotee. Level 3, Earth. Illusion Monster. 0 attack and defense. You can only use the first and second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. First effect, you can target a Mikanko card you control and return it to the hand. That's pretty cool. You get to re-equip your Mikanko equip spells, and if anything else, like if you want to re-trigger an effect, you can replay it. If either player equips an equip card to this card, you can special summon a non-illusion Mikanko monster from your deck. Also, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Mikanko monsters. That's fine. If this card is sent to the graveyard by any means, you can target one face-up monster on the field and equip this card to it. That can trigger effects to get you stuff. The Mikanko level 3 monsters just about all have that. You know, if this card gets equipped, do a thing. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna try it because it's late, so I can't get super loud. So I'm bringing the mic in really quickly. Okay, so normally Mikanko monsters have a couple of effects that are in common with each other. The first one, when they're not equipped, we're talking about the level 3 regular ones. When they're not equipped, you don't take any battle damage from battles involving them. Second, if they are equipped, they can't be destroyed by battle, and your opponent takes any battle damage that you would have taken. Now, it's not the same, obviously, but when you have an effect on a card that is about not being destroyed by battle, and you attach that to an illusion monster who shouldn't be able to be destroyed by battle anyway, and shouldn't be able to do any destroying, which a 0 attack monster is not going to be able to do most of the time. Functionally, it was this close. I would have given it to it. I would have said this is a fun reinterpretation of how the illusion no destroying clause could be introduced, but they didn't do it for this one. And I'm starting to think that this is getting personal. I'm starting to think that every time I mention that the fact that illusion monsters no longer have a consistent effect among them, thus being one of the only types in the game that would have had a consistent identity to them, someone, somewhere, in a design cubicle tenses their fingers together and enjoys the pain and suffering that I am meant to endure because this is happening again. And I'm just going to have to sit here and continue to writhe in agony over it. Folks, I don't know what to do at this point. I don't know where to put all this energy. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to try to be a normal member of society after this, but I can't promise that I'm going to succeed. Mystical Space Typhoon negating is funny. New Gouki cards are great. Bring back the illusion non-destruction clause. They didn't have to do this. Mikanko didn't have anything to do with this. But they're doing it to me. And I'm sick of dealing with it. Thank you for your time. And until the next time Konami decides that they're going to spit in my eye, I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales that even come with their own lore and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and Simic Toadstool, Nebula Navigators, 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Dr. Reaper, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Mean King, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yaminair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Boos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast, and The Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ally Vatnia, Animasta, and Thurak, A Random Pup, Blaze Rider, Blitzwolf, Chaz Ghost, Christopher Fuss, again, Chris B, Cool Trainer Dark, Divine Dragon Felgrin 4123, Dr. Reaper R.I.P. Again, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Martin Moore 2468, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Pombo, Rhyme Kairos, Shizuka Nijimura, Sir Knight JCB, Sphelia, Stephen Huntsman, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Queen of Time, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara and Zaldreka, as well as the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon down in the description, or consider joining as a YouTube member.